the affordability, and even understanding what they need as well. Because it's not sometimes it's not people don't buy drills. People don't buy drills. They actually buy. They actually want to buy a hole. So for the legal services that you actually require are maybe for some documentation issue, for some security issues. So what we're doing with Sparkle is not providing. We're not providing a business account for small businesses because they can get it from any bank. What we're enabling businesses is to be able to carry your business in your mobile. So when you open a Sparkle business account, you will have the option to do your taxation, your payroll, your inventory management, and your invoicing. Now, if you can have that all in one place, it means that all your data is in one place, and it means that we can now help you using technology and using cloud computing to give you insights into your business. How much are you paying? Where is your cost going to, and who are your best customers? Those are the things that will help businesses make quick decisions and to grow their businesses. It will help them reduce operational risk, rely less on people, and be free to do their business wherever they are. And of course, that will now make small businesses more sustainable. As we know, small businesses have an average lifespan of 2 years, but with technology and with the right tools, they'll be able to more stay sustainable. And that is, as you know, small businesses are the engine of growth. And if we can do that, imagine 40 million businesses and half of them actually employing one more person, you're actually going to solve that unemployment problem in Nigeria.
Okay. I'm liking this. But what role would power play in all of these things? Would the small businesses need to, because, technology is connected directly to power, availability of power. I mean, with the epileptic situation of Nigeria, and, imagine trying to automate your business fully to, a digital business, how would that play out? Would they be requiring...
This is why people are coming to Nigeria, because Nigeria is such a great place for opportunities.
Okay.
Now, the electricity problem cannot be solved by the traditional ways.
Definitely.
And that's why you're seeing a big surge in solar power opportunities.
Sure.
Because the economics of taking power to a small village where the activities are minimal is not sustainable. But with solar power, and with the new technologies that allow people to pay as they go, right? These things are going to be affordable and accessible. Now, if you look at the economic activity in a small village compared to the urban, it's completely different. So it's like why would you want to put 100 kilowatt power station in a place where they only use 20 kilowatt? It's a waste, right? So, and that the new technology, solar allows you modular energy solutions allow you to do that. And there are a lot of them springing up in areas, and they're affordable and they're accessible. You just need to, like I said, you just need the conversions of right leadership from the private sector, from the legislation,
so you're still bringing
from the public
leadership
sector. No, it's a collaboration.
God.
It's leadership.
Nigeria. So if you are calling leadership now, it means I'm not seeing any end in sight right now. Because, okay, help me out.
Okay. Well, for me, I've heard all you have to say, and one would argue that maybe it's for the bougie people, maybe it's for the technologically savvy people, the digitally savvy people. How will this solution appeal to? Do you have any plans for the underbanked? Do you have any plans for
the
both the underbanked and the unbanked?
There's what you call specialization. You cannot be jack of all trades. There's some people who are good at unbanked, and so you have a lot of organizations and people trying to solve individual unbanked problems. You have people trying to solve the agency problem. You have banks trying to solve corporate problems. Now, when you ask someone to solve all the problems, so if you ask Sparkle, solve the unbanked problem, solve the small business problem, solve the corporate problem, where is the capital? And then you have duplication of efforts and lack of specialization. So for us, we have said that for us, inclusion, like we've seen, small business is a key part of the economy. They're heavily excluded because they don't have access to many things, and we are building our business around those people and also individuals as well. And we know that by doing that, other people, we will now collaborate with the people who are trying to solve the unbanked problem, because we also have a business, we'll collaborate with people who are trying to solve the energy problem, the education problem, and all those other things that are actually needed to actually make this work. So it's not about, and I think that's what I try to say, it's not just about, you can't do it, no man is an island and no solution is an island. You only have to take, one of the reasons why I think that you have a vaccine so quick is because there has been collaboration and open information. And that is what we need to go to. I think the business model for the 21st and the 22nd century is going to be about competing, yes, but also collaborating to share resources, because in the end, what the value of any company or any business is the number of active customers that are on your platform or on your tribe.
Absolutely. Okay, Ike, we're going to take a very short break now. When we return, we'll continue this conversation and we'll open the phone line. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Breakfast, dissecting and analyzing top stories in the news.
The mess of 16 years cannot be clean, and so for 2 years, they also started adding mess to the mess.
If the terrorists killed 100 people, that is probably not news. If they killed the governor, that is a big achievement.
Nigerians are really upset. Labour cannot go there to discuss for the generality of Nigerians.
Join the conversation online on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send us your comments via WhatsApp on 0906 000 5719. If you have an opinion, share it with us. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Now, if you're just tuning in, it's our CEO feature for the month of January, and we are painting the future of businesses as we leverage on technology with Uzoma Dozie. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So, AK, you have some comments with you. Maybe we'll start with that first before we continue the conversation.
Okay, the comments are very interesting. So we have one that says it is a dependency on technology that has created the greater panic on the NIN registration. The fear of not being able to do email, banking, social media, etc. can be nerve-breaking. I would like to ask Uzoma his opinion on the current linking of NIN to mobile phones as a potential drive to narrow inclusion in financial services. This message is from Uzo.
I think identity is very paramount. There is no established, developed community anywhere that does not have an identity system. United States, Europe, and even some parts of Africa, it's like South Africa. Because once you have identity, you have information, and then you can allocate resources. It is a painful but rewarding process that we must go through. We don't actually even know how many people that we have in Nigeria. We don't have the right information to do to take the right decisions. So once I can see the potential of I can see the opportunity where you have people that have a national identity number linked to passports, linked to driving licenses, linked to everything. It means that I can actually take credit decisions. I can lend to people at a lower cost rate because I have better information. And part of the reason why things are so expensive in Nigeria is because we don't have enough information.
It's
and so
too
we're
much
checking,
risk.
and we're either overpricing, because what you do is that you're actually pricing for what you don't know. Now, when you have what you know, you can lower the cost and you can scale it. So part of that problem is identity. So we have to invest. And of course, there's no progress without disruption. This is a very disruptive but necessary activity that we must go through, and I support it. But it is the method in which we do it that has to be improved.
I'm happy you said that. I'm happy you said that. So someone is saying housing and
Can I just lean in on this? So I agree with what Uzoma is saying. The method is the most painful thing. And for me, it's even the duplicity of the identities. So you take, you want to go and get your international passport. You use the, maybe you have to get your NII. You need to go to the driver's license. You need to bring your international passport. Where do they all converge? What is the convergence? Why am I using one national identity to prove another national identity?
So I think the whole idea is that national identity, your NIN is going to be your link number. So if you want to get a SIM card, you have to have a NIN, which is what is happening here. If you want to get a passport, you're going to have a NIN. So before, you had to have like 2 or 3, depending on which agency you were talking to. So what they decided is, okay, you know what? NIN is going to be the central identity that will allow you to access those other documents that you need.
But Uzoma,
yes.
Uzoma, let me come to you. Why can't I use what I already have to go on a platform and get a number? Because you'll have my biometrics. So why don't I enter my international ID number, my international passport number? You have my fingerprint, you have where I live, you know where I was born, you have my image. Why can't I do that on a platform in my house and you generate a number for me?
I mean, that is, my opinion there is that you have, how many people have international passports? How many people are going to travel out of the country? Even in the great United States, not many people have international passports. How many people are going to drive? How many people can afford to drive? But one thing that the government, or our leaders owe us, is to give us an identity that you require to live in Nigeria, that you know whether you're going to travel, whether you're going, because if you're never going to drive a car, you will never need to get a driver's license. Yes. If you know you're never going to travel, you're never going to need a passport. But if you want to exist and live and access social services in this country of ours, you will need some identity. And I think the national identity is the common denominator to help you access all those other things in a cheap and cost-effective manner.
This national identity, no matter. I don't want to.
Identity. Let's call it identity. If you don't want to call it national.
In camera.
Yes. No, I was going to even say that if the hassle to even get the number, it's supposed to be something easy. So I'm thinking, a thinking government, right? You announced this. I think this was announced February last year. All the babies that were born between that February last year till date, do they have their NIN at the point of birth? Those are the kinds of things I would have thought a government would be doing. So you now backlog. From at least from the people, from the day you announced it, start issuing out the numbers to the babies that are born. So you know that those ones are sorted. Then you start backtracking to the people that are, gradually, then you can now mop up the entire country. Not this fire brigade approach that we're doing. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. So someone is asking a question, Gwemi. She says, housing and mortgage is a large problem in Nigeria. What technical solutions do you see coming in Nigeria in the future? Okay, do you want to answer that?
I think that's beyond my expertise. Yes, because I'll just tell you that it's all about affordability. And affordability means that, one, you must have access to financial services, you must have access to loans, they must be cost effective. You cannot be borrowing at 15% for a house for 20 years. You will pay like 5 times the price of the house by the time you pay. So it just comes to that whole infrastructure and reducing the cost of accessing these services. Yeah. And so it's another collaborative effort.
Absolutely. So if you were going to pick the 3 biggest, 3 industries or 3 sectors that you think technology will play a very huge role on, and you're willing to invest your money in those sectors, what would that be for you?
Education, food and health, because that's what everybody needs. And education, with the 4th Industrial Revolution, education is going to play a key part in every aspect of society, for people who are growing up, for people who are going to have to learn new things, for people who are going to be out of jobs and going to have to work in other industries. in fact, a typical example is like, like I always say, like experience, like I've been in banking for 20 years or over 20 years, but my experience is only about 3 years now, because what I knew 15 years ago is for the history books, for my grandchildren, to tell them, there's a time that people had to actually walk into a bank. Today, I mean, my children would never, I don't think they've actually stepped into a bank in the last 5 years. They've opened their banking accounts online. They are doing a transaction, and that's what they expect. If you think that they're going to walk into a bank, and so that whole education is going to play a key part. And then how you educate people as well. So people don't read anymore, or because first in Nigeria you have
attention span is very short.
Attention span is very short. You also have a country that has many languages. You have 3 main languages, many cultural barriers. So the type of learning is going to be more visual as well, right? So that because you can now do it. Before it wasn't affordable. It didn't make sense. It wasn't economical because you had books. How many pictures? But now with digital, with a mobile phone, you can do so much more. Absolutely. And so education is going to be very, very key. Of course, we have a big nation. Food security is very, very key. And then with drone technology, you can actually, and also artificial intelligence and cloud computing, you can actually increase yields in a smaller plot. And health. Health right now in Nigeria and most part of the world is reactive. You have a problem, you go to the hospital. But I don't want to wait for that. I want to be able to have, first of all, have access to my medical records, be notified when, okay, it's time for you to have a checkup, it's time for you to do this, and then even for my fitness or for my data, I can even get lower insurance. So you can actually encourage people, right, to stay healthy so that even their premiums for health will go down. So those 3 areas are going to be very big, especially in this country.
Education and food.
And logistics as well. Because you have to move things around. People order online.
AK.
Well, you just look like you just took that as an expo for investing.
Yes, so. That's the whole idea.
I'm going to ask a question because your mind is very broad, and I've come to, respect it. Now, what is the journey of transposing your followers? And by your followers, I mean the people that would help you bring this dream to fruition. What is your method, or what would you say has been the greatest challenge to make people follow you? Because it's not so very easy. You're standing and you're seeing the vision. So how do you get the right team, the right people to ride with you and bring that to fruition?
I think the answer is that one has to just continue to improve their storytelling. And it's all about just continuously using different examples to actually validate your story and finding people that share that dream as well. And there are people who share that dream. And I think you've already answered that question by saying, once you can actually show people what the future will be like, it is easier for them to actually adopt that story. I mean, I'm one of the people that, so like I watch science fiction, and people think some people I know think I'm crazy. I love science fiction because science fiction is actually a pathway to the future. You only have to watch Star Trek, find a Star Trek TV series in the 1970s and see what they were using then, and you would think, my God, this is like really fiction. But today, 90% of it is actually reality. And so you have to be the great leaders. I'm not saying I'm a great leader, but the great leaders that I know have been visionaries. They actually see, they can see how people are going to be using things, how people are going to be living, and then they start working towards that, and they start getting followership early on, and not just when it's about to happen.
Absolutely. Somebody is calling you Pascal Doze. His name is Uzoma Doze. He says, thank you for helping us to clarify the essence of the NIN. There is no one from government speaking to us about its relevance, just like you just did. That's from Benson. And someone is asking that, where would you see, maybe I should wait on that question, but they're asking where you see Sparkle in 2035. When do you see Sparkle in 2035? But I'll save that question. I wanted to just quickly lean on AK's question to follow up that what has been the greatest challenge in terms of manpower? So it's one thing for you to have the right team, but the technical know-how for, with tech and all of that. I know that Nigerians are doing an amazing job. Like, our heart broke this week, AK, when the young boy was killed by armed robbers. I mean, how can someone that had so much potential for greatness in the tech world, just be taken away like that? So we know that, I mean, the challenges are there in terms of the technicalities, the technical know-how. So, how are you managing that in terms of, recruitment for young people that are watching?
Before I started Sparkle, I thought I had a good handle using the data about how things are, how people think, until you start a business, and then you start Sparkle, and you're starting from the grassroots. One, we have some brilliant minds, and really, when they say that the future of Nigeria is the youth, I have learned a lot. I've learned more in the last 1 year from the people that are half my age, who are doing things, and because they have access to, they're not looking at what Nigeria is doing, they're looking at what happened in other parts of the world, and I'm bringing it back to Nigeria and doing some amazing things. So the problem is keeping these people engaged, and because they also have challenges. They have to go home, they have to live, they have to feed, and there are other opportunities as well. They have other opportunities. For me too, I think one of the biggest ones is also diversity. So you have, especially in technology, you don't have enough women in there. And like and people say, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is that if you are trying to create solutions for a country like Nigeria, which is 50% women, without having the input of a diverse team, you're going to be missing out on a lot.
Please, can you repeat it again?
and so it's very, very key. And so part of what we're trying to do, we're trying to create an enabling environment. One, you have to create awareness, you have to create education, and you have to collaborate. And I keep going back, collaborate with institutions to get more people. Absolutely. Because it's actually essential, because women are the bedrock of society. And I was born by women.
Let me take a call first. By the way, in case you do not know, Uzoba has 3 hot ladies with him in the studio. In case you don't know, he's very big on empowering women. But let me take Ambassador. I think he's from Uyo, Imo State. Thank you for calling. From Imo State, thank you for calling. Let's hear what you have to say. Ambassador, are you there? Okay. I think he's lost somewhere. AK, you want to come in here? AK.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
So I was really going to say, when you said that he's a big supporter of women, I was going to agree with you that he for me, is one of the people that not just talk, but they act in terms of following through with action and employing women, and also empowering them after employing them. Because you have people that just employ them so that they'll make up the number, but there's no empowerment. But here there's the employment and empowerment. So I was just going to ask a follow-up question. Do you think that it is only the young people that is, because there's this thing about young people, we're working with young people, because I'm getting old, but I'm trying to keep myself relevant.
We're in our 30s, please, we're not old.
I'll be outdated because of my age. Is that not some form of exclusion in the matter? Okay, is there hope for all the older generation that are young at heart to work with you? Are we discriminated by our age?
No, certainly not. Diversity is diversity. Diversity is by gender and by age, and so you have to also be young at heart. I'm fortunate. I am as young as my 10-year-old if I want to be connected to the person. So I'm actually learning from everyone, but I'm also gaining experiences. So and why Sparkle is a great place, because we have that diversity in terms of, we've seen all the pitfalls, and diversity in also experience is very, very key as well. So and that some of that experience comes with age as well.
Yeah.
But it's not actually just walking through. Some people will tell you, I have a classic story. Somebody will tell me, I've had 30 years banking experience. So what? What have you actually done with it? And how does that help the future? And so it has to be relevant experience, relevant exposure, and relevant diversity, and not just for the numbers.
We are young at heart. We'll come and work in Sparkle. Now, Tomiwa from Lagos, are you there? Thank you for calling. Let's hear what you have to say. What's happening to the phone lines? I can't hear them. Okay, so I think we will continue the conversation because I'm not sure Tomiwa is there. So if you had one thing to counsel the government, right, to say that this is the future, this is where we're going, and there's no stopping us. So it's better you fall in line, and so that you also will not be stuck in the past while the world is moving forward. What would that be?
I mean, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but
Yeah, but please sound it more. Emphasis is important.
But, you know, I believe it's also like in government you must have a representation of your populace, and so you must have a mixture. And if I mean, like you look at other countries and you find that you have people that have been in office or like in the House of Parliament for many years. You have young and upcoming people, and they are represented not only in legislation but in government and in businesses as well. But so like you need to have that, and so like that whole drive for diversity in on boards, in government, from a gender perspective has to also be deliberate when it comes to age, experience, exposure. Because there is, I mean, like now I think we all know that strength comes from diversity, and progress also comes from diversity, and and also being listening to different points of view, and I think that whole inclusion value.
Absolutely. Okay, we've run out of time. So do you have one final thing to say to Uzoma Dozie quickly?
Really?
Okay, so I'm just going to ask, in the future, do you see a congruence? Do you see a fusion of financial services? So from the banks, from the like big banks coming together, do you see all conglomerating into
one second,
one
we're out of time.
because now it's so much competition. Everybody thinks that. Do you see a congruence, a kind of collaboration in the future?
Well, I will tell you the future is here. All you have to look at the Amazons and that lot. They're doing financial services. Before, bank is just going to be a verb. It's not going to be a place where you go to.
Absolutely. Thank you for keeping it short. Thank you so much, Uzoma Dozie.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for doing this with me. All right.
Welcome, darling.
So Ways was birthed from the need to inform, inspire, influence lives towards action. And this year we're starting our CSR focused on curbing unemployment in Nigeria. So if you are a company and you would like to partner with us, please partner with us by allocating internship slots for us to be able to give to job seekers. And if you're a job seeker, keep watching Ways and follow us on all our social media handles and tell your friends to keep their eyes on Ways. Now, in case you missed today's quote, here it is again. Without change, there is no innovation, creativity, or incentive for improvement. Those who initiate change will have a better opportunity to manage the change that is inevitable. That's from William Pollard. We'll see you live on Monday at 8 p.m. as we bring you another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say.
The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us on officially, I think this is the last Monday in the month of January.
Hallelujah.
Good morning to you. You're tuned into Plus TV Africa, and this is The Breakfast. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
And I am Annette Felix. Good morning. A pleasure to have you here on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's a day of national issues, national discourse, national debates. On the very big issue that occurred over the weekend, it's the Fulani clash in Oyo State. I mean, did you see what happened? Did you follow the news? What happened in Oyo?
It's been a mess. It's not the first time, and that's the thing with this one. So this one is 1 out of 500. It's 1 out of 2,000. Of these incidents that have happened in a very, very long time. This is maybe the first time that we're seeing the reaction from people of the Southwest and from certain elements in the Southwest towards these things. But it's not the first time that these attacks have happened. I even saw a video this morning, just when I got up at 5 a.m., of an attack on the Lagos-Benin Expressway, the Benin-Ore Expressway, which was obviously also done with cutlasses and the likes. And it's not the first time.
But when you notice that this comes on the back of an ultimatum given by another governor in the Southwest about how herdsmen should vacate the state, it just raises cause for alarm anyway.
And it then makes you, and yeah, we will get into this discussion sometime on the program this morning, but it then makes you wonder who exactly is in charge. Why do you really need a governor to give those orders if we have security agencies that can see these crimes? We should not live in a country where 12 people die and people just move on. We shouldn't get to a place where a governor then has to say, okay, enough is enough. Every single crime must be investigated and people must be arrested and people must be brought to justice. And so we really shouldn't have gotten this far before, we start to make this a big conversation. One person that died in Oyo State or in Ondo State or in Lagos
should mean a lot.
And should be investigated.
Yes. So let's keep things settled for now. We'll be digging deep into this issue in just a moment, and then after that we'll be talking about basically taking an assessment at the Buhari administration. A former INEC chairman has come out to say that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has been disappointing. So we'll find out, take a critical look and see, is this true or false?
Absolutely.
And also, we'll be having talks about COVID-19. Another notable figure in Nigerian politics has, passed away due to the virus. As well as, of course, the daily newspapers are going to be reviewing that, as well as taking a look at what happened today in history. It's,
as we always call it, a full plate, a buffet, as we have, ready to serve you this morning. We hope that your Monday goes extremely smooth in every single way. If you're just waking up and getting yourself out of bed, we'd like to welcome you once again to The Breakfast, and of course ask that you sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee or whatever it is that you start your morning with, maybe a glass of water, and enjoy this very interesting ride with us. And in a bit we're going to be, of course, going straight into talking about what happened in the newspapers this morning. So don't move a muscle. We'll be back.
It is engagement we need to have. have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Women are ashamed for having CS. I think all of this mentality needs to stop.
As long as that child is born while this marriage subsists,
yes,
the father is the father.
Yes.
If you have empathy, you will listen to the people say, look, there's a problem with our security. We have a security challenge in Nigeria today, and you need to do something about it.
The issue of empathy actually cuts right across, from leadership down to the followership.
We have reduced fallen heroes to beggars at the airport. We have reduced our veterans to what it is today.
We need to think about this thing. Otherwise, people are not encouraged to want to serve their nation as they should.
I must just chip in here that, look, even those in service today are looking at the treatment you are meting out.
Correct.
To those of us who are veterans out there. And so what next do you expect? Oh boy, prepare for your tomorrow.
You're welcome back to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's now time for Off the Press, the program where we analyze the day's newspapers and make sense of it. And we're beginning with the Nigerian Tribune. The story here is about the trending issue in Oyo State at the moment. It says we've been forced to pay about 50 million naira ransom, and that's as Fulani herds ask for forgiveness, ashore of peaceful coexistence. Also, we are tired of antics of Seriki Fulani Igongon leaders, say. 51 suspected kidnappers, rapists, bandits with police in Okeogun, governor says. Oyo Commissioner of Police, government officials tore Ibarapa, Okeogun ashore of thorough investigation of all crimes. Still on the top of the Nigerian Tribune, 7-day ultimatum. Southwest governors Miyetti Allah to meet in Akure. Panic hits Nigeria's aviation as traveler dies of COVID-19 in Canada. Key players also predict discrimination against Nigerian travelers. Now, on the bottom of the Nigerian Tribune, we see these stories. Hunters rescue 19 victims, arrest 6 indigents in Kogi State. Auto crash, governor's delegation stopped from entering Akungba. AAUA shots NTNE confirmed, 9 confirmed dead. Bandits kill 6, injure 20 in fresh attacks in Niger. Opera over headers, convene meeting of Nigerian leaders to solve crisis now, Sariki tells Buhari. And the details here says, quit notice, Falana knocks FG, pleads with Akeredolu for extension. Fani Kayode backs Ondo governor, Sunday Igboho. ACF Miyetti Allah are jokers, and that's according to the area on Akakafo. And those are the stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Now, Liberal Soshama will be joining us in just a moment to analyze the stories. But let's begin with the big one. We talked about this earlier, and it's about the Ibarapa community crisis with the herdsmen. We know what happened, that on Friday, a freedom fighter, so to speak, by the name Sunday Adeyemo, went to a Fulani settlement and attacked them. He chased away the head of the Fulani settlement, touched their houses, properties were destroyed, people were injured. And now the community is saying that they were forced to pay about 50 million naira ransom when herdsmen allegedly kidnapped their people and raped allegedly 15 women in Ibarapa community in Oyo State. I don't know if this has degenerated to the point where the government or the security agencies basically waits, so to speak. I mean, that's what the people feel, that they watch and look until things, get to this level where people begin to take laws into their own hands. But that's what we're seeing right now. I don't know what you think.
So first of all, the Sunday Igbo or Igbo
Adeyemo, also known as
Sunday Adeyemo part, I think we should still just leave it as allegedly because there's still, other details to it and what happened on that day. But like you said, when most times when the government fails to take responsibility and to, play its part, people eventually then have to stand up for themselves and take, the laws into their hands and, act to protect themselves. And many people would ask, what happened on Friday, like you've mentioned? How is it different from what has happened with bandits in many, many states across the country that go into communities, chase people away, kill people? You just read on the Tribune this morning, 6 people were killed, 20 others injured in one of the states in the north. So what is different between that incident and what may have happened in Oyo State? That, of course, the IG of police then, of course, give an order saying that Sunday Adeyemo should be arrested and all of that. In what way has any of them been different? And do we have the same response from the Nigerian government when we hear that bandits or whoever it is attacks a community or attacks a village in southern Kaduna or in Borno or in Katsina and 20 people are dead or 15 people are dead? We've heard these things for years now, and what do? We read about it in the news, we talk about it, and we move on. Those 20 people never really get the justice that they deserve. Yes. And that's it. So it's not justifying whatever, happened on Friday, but the question is, and I've seen a lot of that on Twitter, in what way is it different?
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. And why is the reaction different now? And it's really, great to see, it's unfortunate really to see these things play out. But yesterday, of course, in an interview, I spoke with Yinka Odumaki and the Afenifere perspective. So all of these angles will come into play here. Governor Seyi Makinde's angle will also come into play here. There's so much, that has to come together to, for us to have a better picture of what we're dealing with and how it can be solved. Today, you just mentioned also on the Tribune that there's a meeting between, the Western governors and Mieti Yala. And of course, there's a promise of peace and togetherness. We shouldn't even get there, because this really sounds like crimes have been committed in their hundreds, but now we want to negotiate. We want to talk about how we can, ignore the justice that those lives and those families deserve and negotiate. What exactly are we negotiating? What conversation are we going to be having, really?
You see, this situation is very dicey because you hear about herdsmen killing people. And at the other side, you hear that these are just criminals who masquerade as bandits. So we have no idea right now until the government or the security agencies carry out a thorough investigation, because that would just be blaming somebody else for something they didn't do simply because maybe they're nomads and they move around, or the situation where justice is just not being meted out.
Well, from the narratives that you hear from the people who are affected the most, you can't take these headers out of the picture entirely and blame some elements, because why aren't we having these elements infiltrate doctors? Why aren't we having them infiltrate other professions and other trades? Why aren't we having them invade the marketplaces? Why only headers? And so you cannot take them out of the picture entirely. And if you listen to the testimonies and the statements that people have made for the longest time, it's about the same picture that has continuously been painted. Another thing is, these are also the effects of for many, many years, I believe that people have said, we need to move away from this type of farming.
Yes.
We need to move away from moving cattle across the country. In the 21st century, it's 2021, why do we still need to move cattle across the country? Why can't we have people who want to invest in cattle rearing and in that type of farming?
Such a
build a ranch.
booming opportunity, really.
Build a ranch, put your cows in your compound, or, buy some land, put your cows in there, feed them, get the nutrients that they want, the water and the grass and whatever that they eat, and feed them in there. Why are they moving around? So these are still the effects of some of all those things that we have failed to address as a country. And the last one that I would mention is the reaction from the presidency over, the last couple of years. What really has been the reaction and the body language of the presidency? All these things come together to create the chaos that we eventually, because it would only take time. But at some point, there's always going to be a breaking point for people who have felt like they have been mistreated for a very, very long time. You may at that point now start to question their, their moves and their actions, but very likely at that time it's too late, because they've seen and they've been frustrated over time by, the lack of, actual action by the government.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a never-ending conversation.
Let's move on to the next paper now, because the story basically here dominating the Nigerian Tribune is about the situation in Oyo State as well as Ondo State. But then there's this issue of bandits as well. Bandits, killing 6, injuring over 20 in Niger State. Hunters rescuing 19 victims. There's just so much bad news about banditry and kidnapping in the Nigerian papers. Just a reflection of what happens, in the Nigerian society. Let's now turn to the next newspaper.
You remember also when the incidents happened in Benue, there was also the perspective where Mieti Allah also stepped in. They've always stepped in multiple times to have these conversations and to have these talks when lives have been lost. I remember a paper that I read back then when I was on radio saying, that basically was saying that, these lives were taken because they killed our cows. And we moved on. We moved on from it, and this is where we are today. So these things would always be the after effects of those incidents that were failed, that we failed to check properly. Let's move to the Punch newspapers, see what we can find over there. Very likely it's still the same or similar stories on insecurity and banditry and the headers and, farmers' clashes as they've been described. It says here, the Gongon and Fulani crisis, town presents evidence, alleges headers collected 50 million naira ransoms, raped 15 women. Monarchs and others present pictorial evidence of ransoms, disease victims to government. Local government chairman, community leader accused Fulani leader of negotiating ransoms. And it also says, a writer to that story says Fulani headsmen leaders beg for forgiveness, pledge peaceful coexistence with hosts. And that's what I just spoke about. Also, Nigeria suffered 21% drop in foreign investment flows, and that's from the United Nations. Federal government to pay 71 billion naira counterpart funding for 6 rail projects. Senate queries NBET's 50 billion naira escrow account. And also, Ondo eviction begins today as Southwest governors and Mieti Allah meet. Also on the Punch newspapers, family mourns, plans burial as Nasarawa bandits kill captain and 6 soldiers. It just never ends. It just never ends. You can go through all the papers today and you would see one story of
deaths and
people who have been killed.
Yes.
Edo Task Force visits churches and forces COVID-19 compliance. And also robbers making way out of hotel, kill Ibadan socialite. Lagos Varsity DVC says, my abductors threatened to transfer me to Boko Haram. And we also have 3 arrested for beating a man to death in Ogun State. 3 feared dead as court members clash in Lagos. And Force headquarters summons Lagos bribe-taking cops over 16-year-olds extortion. All right, so yes, it's a similar picture on the Punch newspapers this morning. It doesn't seem like a lot is different in any way. And, the question would continue to be, at what point will the government, take a stand? At what point will the government actually make their stance with regards protecting Nigerian lives and property? And we can't just move on after 10 people are killed. In the Nasarawa story, it says here, Nasarawa bandits kill captain and 6 soldiers. Those are family members. Those are fathers. Those are brothers. Those are husbands. Those are Nigerians generally, and those families would ask for justice at some point. It may take 100 years, but at some point they will demand justice for those lives. And if the Nigerian government doesn't make its its stance known, completely condemning the killings of Nigerians in their sleep, then I don't know what else we expect to happen. All right, we of course I've also seen other stories there. Of course, the meeting with Miyetti Allah should start today. The United Nations talking about Nigeria suffering 21% drop in foreign investment inflows. That's also on the Punch newspapers this morning. Let's quickly move to the Nation newspapers, see what other stories that we can also find here with the time that we have left. Red alert in the Southwest as a quick notice. The Nation newspaper is going to be flipping on your screen in a bit. The Nation, yes, that's where it is. It says, a red alert in Southwest as quick notice to headers expires. Governors to meet with Miyetti Allah in Akure over region's security. Also, Nigeria to buy AstraZeneca vaccine. 70% of resident doctors infected with COVID-19. That's really scary. Monarch declares Igbo God sent. And he says, okay, also, I can't be intimidated. Death toll in communal clash hits 40. Lawmaker arrested. Also, APC targets 60 million members in new drive. And also, the South must unite to secure region, says Kanu. Immigration chief abducted. Ondo Varsity shot over violence fears. Also, Okorocha says, I am still in the APC. I'm going to quickly just share, on the AstraZeneca vaccine. I guess, we can call that good news. It was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we spoke about the Nigerian government wanting to, or rather pledging 10 billion naira to our vaccine development here in the country. And, people said, it's a little too late. We're already in the, third quarter, the second phase of the coronavirus pandemic. We cannot at this point now be thinking of money to start, investing in vaccine research and vaccine development. We should have done that early in 2020. We should have done it in 2019. And instead of using that money and spending that money on, vaccine development, you might as well just buy vaccines that have already been provided. So if they're choosing to buy the AstraZeneca vaccine, I guess it's good news. I'm hoping that we have a budget that is able to accommodate as many vaccines as necessary for Nigerians, for frontline workers, for government officials, as the picture always is, and of course for the elderly, for those who are most vulnerable to the COVID-19. I hope that we are able to spread as much as we can across the country. It might take a lot of money, but I'm sure we have it.
But I don't think that this vaccine thing, well, it's not really about my opinion here, but the issue, as we've seen it, is it doesn't seem that the government is doing much about this. I say this because we see the headlines in the papers, but where is the action? The government mentioned earlier that there was going to be, vaccine shipments into the country by the end of January. And later they've moved it up to February. We've not seen any sign of any vaccine in the country. They've pledged 10 billion, like you said. We have no idea who's getting that money. What research are they conducting right now? And you're hearing a news story about the AstraZeneca vaccine. And when you go to the front page of the Guardian newspaper, the story you still see here is about herbal medicine not certified to contain COVID-19. What this means is that Nigerians are taking, their own health in their own hands, literally, and are seeking herbal medicine. People will take what they call agbo. They say, let them try these herbs.
People have said it
let
works.
them try. Yeah, that's the thing, because there is really no hope right now. They keep saying, the government says they will bring a vaccine. How many people, first of all, are amenable to the idea of taking a vaccine? If and when is the vaccine going to actually arrive? And then they say it's better for me to go to the bush and pluck leaves that I know that my forefathers have taken and have worked for them. And they believe that that's what's more efficient.
So those are angles that the Nigerian government should
be looking at.
Yes, they cannot ignore those perspectives where there's also Nigerians who feel the vaccine has a chip in it that is going to make you a member of the 666. There's
And
also
malfunction.
those who feel the vaccine is, poisoning. And we've had that type of misinformation for a very long time, even with polio. There's a time that the Nigerian Army was also doing its social responsibility campaign in the Southeast, vaccinating children, and there was a campaign against it. People started spreading rumors that they were poisoning Igbo kids and children from the Southeast, and it was chaos. I was in Enugu then. And so, yes, the government would have to, of course, play its role to ensure that it, assures Nigerians and is able to convince Nigerians that the vaccines are needed and they're safe, for use. The, part where, you mentioned that, we don't see a lot of action. I personally don't expect that the government will every morning let us know, okay, this is the amount of money we send to AstraZeneca or to Pfizer and BioNTech or Sinopharm, but
well,
we
that's
expect
actually
that,
what we need right
let's
now.
have, yeah.
You find other countries having their COVID-19 updates every other day, but why can't we have that in Nigeria?
The United States
because
has
in this
vaccinated.
case, we do need that reassurance as much as possible.
The United States has vaccinated millions of people. India is having a vaccination campaign. They call it the biggest vaccination campaign in the world. So we would expect that Nigerians would also have similar. We're the giant of Africa. And then it becomes heartbreaking when you see wives of governors going to the United States to take their vaccine and making videos of such and posting it on social media and saying that, the governor will at some point also come to the United States to take his own vaccine. And, for Nigerians, they'll be wondering, so if the governor can quickly, and it's pretty much the same thing with our healthcare system. If you can quickly just run to the US and get vaccinated, then why would you care about what happens to the people in Anambra State?
And we're actually running out of time right now. Let's just quickly wrap up with the front page of The Guardian. This one says, just about COVID-19, economies lose over $700 billion to COVID-19. And then, of course, NAFDAC insisting on clinical trials of products. Sadly, Liberal Soshama could not join us for Off the Press, but he would be with us when we talk in depth about our first topic on the Oyo crisis. So it's been Off the Press with Osere Ogbowa and myself. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be right back with Today in History in just a minute.
Glad to have you back. Good morning once again, and welcome to The Breakfast. We now will be talking about what happened today in history many, many years ago. And I am starting with something that happened in the year 2005. It's popularly known as the BTK killer. And BTK, of course, eventually was found out to mean blind, torture, and kill. This happened in Kansas, in Wichita, in Kansas. On this day, January 25th, the BTK killer sent a postcard to a television station. The communication was in a long line sent by the, or was one of them rather, in a long line of information that had been sent by the serial killer who had terrorized the community for over 30 years, brutally murdering 10 people and taunting law enforcement, you know, and of course the local media. He eventually was arrested. His name, Dennis Lynn Radler. He was arrested a month later on the 25th of February. He was a husband, a father of two, and a compliance officer for the Park City in Kansas. He was then taken into police custody and confessed to being the BTK killer. But the crazy part of this is how long it lasted. They started in 1974 when he strangled 4 members of one family. 6 more victims, all female, followed. And of course, the last one happened in 1991. Throughout the 1970s, the BTK killer or strangler was, of course, continued to send letters to the media in which he claimed knowledge of the crimes. And of course, in that era, there probably wasn't as much high-tech forensic investigation as there is today, and so it wasn't so easy finding out. He used to send items from the victims and you know, small notes basically to the local media to brag and claim that he knew the person who was responsible for the killings, but they didn't know who he was. And then in 2004, the attention-seeking BTK killer contacted the media again, sending notes and poems and packages that included some of the victims' jewelry and driver's licenses. He also sent a floppy disk containing a BTK letter to a local television station, which was eventually traced to his church computer, and he was identified. He was later charged with 10 counts of murder, pled not guilty, and then switched his plea to guilty. Eventually, of course, he was sentenced, or rather, unfortunately, he was ineligible for the death penalty because it was not, it didn't exist in Kansas City at that time. And so, yeah, that's really it. A 30-year period, you know, 30-year span of, you know, of killings and strangling of people in the community that eventually was found out on this day, or rather, you know, one of the letters was sent on this day. He was eventually caught a month later on the 25th of February.
Wow. So I read this research, and it said that there are about 3,000 to 4,000 active serial killers in the United States.
Yeah, you can imagine those
How
in Nigeria.
terrifying. Right.
And you know why? Because people would always say that with the way our policing and our criminal justice system works, you know, and our level of investigation and forensic, well, there's barely any forensic, even if they claim to have done one in the Lekki toll gate a few weeks ago. Months after the incident. But, you know, with, you know, the level that we have, you know, a person can be a successful serial killer in Nigeria for years.
Right, and we'll go scot-free.
Yes.
Nobody will apprehend the person, no justice, no investigation, no questions asked. And then at the end of the day, when they...
You might be caught, you know, and when they catch you, it will be that your cup is full. It wouldn't be that all the police, you know, had been investigating and had been tracking this serial killer for a long time, and then so eventually was caught.
These things usually end up in jungle justice. And that's just sad.
All right.
Okay, 1905, January 25th. What happened today was that the largest diamond was found. It was found at the Premier Mine in Pretoria, South Africa. It was a 3,106 carat diamond. Oof. It was discovered during a routine inspection by the mine superintendent. It weighed 1.33 pounds and was christened the Kulian. It was the largest diamond ever found and was named after, you know, Kulian, the man who obviously owned the mine. Now, his name was Frederick Wells, and it was the wells where the mine was found was 18 feet below the Earth's surface when he spotted a flash of starlight embedded in the wall just above him, and his discovery was presented that same afternoon to Sir Thomas Kulian, who owned the mine. It was the largest gem quality rough diamond that was ever found. It was then sold to the Transvaal provincial government, which then presented the stone to Britain's King Edward the 7th as a birthday gift. Now, this diamond was cut into 9 large stones, about 100 smaller ones, and was valued at millions of dollars. Well, the story about this is so interesting because it became the largest clear-cut diamond in the world. It is now mounted in the head of the sovereign scepter with the cross. And if you recall, in August 1907, of course you don't recall, a vote was held in Parliament on the Killian's fate, and a motion authorizing the purchase was carried by 42 votes in favor to 19 in the world. Well, I mean, South Africa is the 6th largest diamond producer in the world. That's according to stats for 2019. You know, the diamond production in that country is estimated at 7.2 million carats. Wow, such value.
That's a lot, you know, and but, you know, same thing with, I'm not sure what countries that produces all the cocoa or, I don't want to make any mistakes now, but, you know, it's about the same story with, you know, Africa producing all these great mineral resources and not, you know, you can't see it anywhere. You can see that, you know, South Africa has, you know, has been, yes, it's not, you know, a terribly developed the third world country in that light, but you would not get to see some of these African countries that have for decades and for centuries provided the world with, you know, some of the most valuable mineral resources. You can't see, you know, evidence of any of that in their countries.
Even though we have these things.
Yeah.
It's just...
You know, and, you know, just look at your backyard in the Niger Delta. You don't even need to go far, you know, to see evidence of stuff like that. You know, where exactly the mineral and the wealth is gotten from eventually turns into the worst hit place and, you know, the most abandoned area. And so, yes, it includes South Africa. Maybe not as bad as other African countries, but you know, definitely would be named as one of those. I saw there was a documentary that was very popular on social media, you know, a couple of months ago of little kids that were used in the mining industry. And of course, they were earning peanuts daily. Their families could barely even feed. But most of all these, you know, minerals and most of all these, you know, resources are sent outside Africa to other countries that don't produce anything.
Exactly, and become enriched on the back of that labor, yes. Anyway, that's it for the Today in History. As I said, 1905, January 25th, the world's largest diamond was found in a mine in South Africa.
Random question, if you found that diamond, what would you do?
If I found it?
Yeah. If you're walking around...
I think the key word is I, so that answers the question.
That's all we have for you. 2005 and what,
1905.
1905. Today in history, two very, very major events. One of them not a very good story, but actually both of them not very happy stories. But of course, the diamond story might be a little brighter. And that's what we have for you. Moving up next, we're going to be having a conversation about the issues in the southwestern part of Nigeria. This morning, it is said that the Mieti Allah would be meeting with Southwest governors, and they would be having a conversation on the way forward to create a peaceful environment and, you know, better living, you know, environment for people of the Southwest. What will that meeting bring forward? We do not know, but of course we'll follow it. But we're having a conversation about that coming up next after this break.
Women are shamed for having CS. I think all of this mentality needs to stop.
As long as that child is born while this marriage subsists.
Yes.
The father is the father.
Yes.
If you have empathy, you will listen to the people say, look, there's a problem with our security. We have a security challenge in Nigeria today, and you need to do something about it.
The issue of empathy actually cuts right across, from leadership down to the followership.
We have reduced fallen heroes to beggars at the airport. We have reduced our veterans to what it is today.
We need to think about this thing. Otherwise, people are not encouraged to want to serve their nation as they should.
I must just chip in here that, look, even those in service today are looking at the treatment you are meting out to those of us who are veterans out there. And so what next do you expect? Oh boy, prepare for your tomorrow.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The special anti-robbery squad who are now killing innocent citizens instead of dealing with robbers. Your axe will catch up with you. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
First point of accountability is asking questions.
Hello and welcome to Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
Hi everyone, welcome to Plus Training.
You cannot continue to recycle poverty while you're spending a lot of money on unproductive ventures.
The government has to feel the impact.
Honorable Commissioner, sir, welcome to the show.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you don't talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Keep watching.
Plus events.
Plus event. Plus event. Plus TV Africa.
Missed out? Don't be left out as we bring to your screen your favorite social diary events on Plus Events, bringing you fun, information, and of course, entertainment.
Hello everyone and welcome to the latest event show on the planet.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
And welcome back to The Breakfast. We're now moving into a conversation that has made headlines across the country this morning. Issues that, of course, have happened in the last couple of years that eventually led to a particular incident on Friday in the Southwest. The police say culprits behind violence in Igangan will be brought to justice. Of course, violence erupted in the town in Ibarakban North local government area for your state over the weekend when a Yoruba activist, Sunday Adeyemo, and his supporters reportedly and allegedly stormed the Fulani settlement in the town to eject the Seriki Fulani, Salihu Abdul Kadir, and some other headsmen who he accused of fueling the security problems in the area. He claimed the headsmen committed crimes such as kidnapping, rape, killings, and invading farmlands with their cattle. Some persons were killed, allegedly, while property worth several millions of naira were set ablaze during the clash. We've invited to speak with us this morning about this Libros Oshoma, a legal practitioner, and Mr. Mark Adebayo, a public affairs analyst. But before we get into that, we would like to, of course, play something for you. It's from the Wilson Center by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and this, I believe, happened in 2019. His thoughts back then on the atrocities by the headsmen across Nigeria. We'll be back after this.
When you have a situation where your own tribe is being accused of something, now you must be able to look into it and make it transparently clear that that accusation is unfounded, or if it's founded, you deal with it. There have been, herdsmen, farmers. Now, herdsmen are mainly Fulanis. Nothing has been done. Rather than doing something about it, what we are having is, okay, we will create colonies, cattle colony. Where will you create colony in Nigeria? Is it in my own part of the country that you will now make a colony? Who will give you land to create colony within its own state? So these are specific. You are asking for specific. I can go on and on. But there are many things that should not have been done that have been done, and many things that should have been done that are not being done, that will have helped in the area of management of diversity.
Thank you, President.
All right, and of course, like he said, many things that should have been done that still have not been done, and that was from 2019. We're currently in 2021, and it doesn't seem like a lot has changed. So we're going to once again say good morning to Mr. Mark Adebayo. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, we also have with us in studio Mr. Libros Oshoma. Thank you also for stepping in and for being a part of the program. All right, so I'm going to start with, our guest who's joining us virtually, Mr. Adebayo. I want you to quickly share your thoughts on the events that took place on Friday in Igangan and the narrative that has started to spew from that event, the arrest warrant, or rather the call for the arrest of Sunday Adeyemo, and all of that, that has happened. Let's quickly get your thoughts on that.
Call for the arrest of Sunday Igbo is not only unwarranted, but utterly ridiculous. What has become the pattern in this government is that when people are being raped by these killer herders, when people's farms are being ravaged by these killer herders, when people are being kidnapped by these killer herders, when towns and cities are being destroyed by killer herders, this government go on mute mode. This government will not say anything. But at any point that people resist, at any point that people fight back, at any point that people resort to self-help in order to protect and defend themselves, this government comes to life. Then we begin to hear Garuba Shehu, the mouthpiece of the Minyeti Allah Association, becoming the mouthpiece of the Bari government has become the largest mouthpiece of the terrorist others in this country. That is what, since 2015 that we came into power. We do know, and then of course I want to correct an impression. This idea of simplifying the mandate of the killer others as just other farmers class. No, it is others, it is the killer others versus the rest of us. They go into towns, they go into cities, it's not only the farm. You know, it's only that the first line of suffering from these killer others are the farmers. But you know, they go to the roads, they create farmers, they help. So the call for, you see, in Yoruba land, we need about 500 more Sunday Igbo. In Yoruba land, we need a minimum of 6 Ayobayo as governors of our state in Yoruba land, so that they will be able to tackle this menace head on. You know, we don't need powers as our governors. You know, when you push a people to the wall, you don't expect them to talk that they will talk.
Okay.
And you have a government that has refused to protect the people. The people eventually will resort to self-help.
All right.
When you have
Hold
a
on,
government
Mr. Adeyemo.
that supports
Mr. Adebayo, I beg your pardon. Kindly hold on, Mr. Adebayo. We're going to bring in Liberals Oshoma now. You were also having challenges with the quality of sound from your end. So hopefully we can sort that out in the time that Liberals is speaking. So let's also get your thoughts on what has happened so far. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo gave his thoughts in 2019. We're still talking about it in 2021. Quick analysis.
Yeah, I would start from where Mr. Adebayo stopped and quote a phrase I use, repeatedly by Fidel Castro. In a state of lawlessness, it becomes illegal to be law-abiding. And when you push a people to, lawlessness, or you encourage lawlessness, what you're indirectly encouraging is, those who are law-abiding should also be lawless. There is crime everywhere, but it is when you condone it, it now festers, when there are no consequences for such crime. I'll quickly start from, remember during the militancy in the Niger Delta, you had a president, eventually, the presidency was donated to them to assuage the feelings of people from that area so that the government can consistently make the natural resources from there. We did say, and then when amnesty was introduced, some of us did say that what you're encouraging is lawlessness. That's, look, we can't deal with lawlessness, and so let us, embrace these people. And then came Buhari. Once Buhari came, headsmen who ordinarily couldn't even write statements before suddenly had an association. I grew up, intermingling with headsmen from my village in Anegbete to Auchi. We had Zongo. These places were where you had headsmen, wherever they were coming from, they settled there. It didn't just start today. And we we're never scared when we go to the farm and you see headers, because they won't come to disrupt your crops. And we had consistently lived peacefully together over the years. And suddenly came President Muhammadu Buhari, and then you had these clashes. You had this invasion. I won't call it a clash. It's not a clash. It's an invasion. And rather than government putting its foot down to say, this is not what headers represents. This is not what Fulanese represents. They slept on it. We started making excuses for it. Gradually, at the initial stage was that no, we should remove Fulani from it. It's just, headers clash. And then even the president described it as a clash with farmers. And some leaders of thought said, no, this is not a clash. I'm in my farm and somebody came to invade my farm, kill, rape, and then you say it's a clash. This is not a clash. And so because the government was silent and lackadaisical and seemingly or tacitly, folded his hand because of where they were coming from, and it became an everyday thing that even the average farmers now decided to collaborate in some cases, because you also have villagers who are collaborating with these people to kidnap. So it's not just, a question of it's all about the Fulani, because that's where a lot of people are getting it wrong. Though is it because the president is from there now that every crime is about the Fulanis? No. Because now they are so emboldened that if you want to commit a crime, you need them in front, because nobody will do them anything. The one that was arrested in my village,
The guy said that if you take him anywhere, he will still come back because nothing will happen to him. That is how emboldened the state has emboldened criminals.
All right, Mr. Oshoma, can I bring in Mr. Adebayo here because we really are running short behind time. Mr. Adebayo, do we still have you there? Okay, you and Mr. Oshoma have agreed on one thing, that including Sunday Adeyemo, he said this, that the government has been passive regarding insecurity over the years, and that's why they had to take laws into their own hands. But does this in any way justify what occurred on Friday with, the touching of the house of the Iseki Fulani, the destruction of property and the unrest right now in the country? Does that justify it?
Action provokes reaction. At any point that you have a government that's supposed to protect you against criminals, but that government to speak for the criminals, the people have no choice than to respond in the best way possible to defend themselves. You don't sit down, and I am not saying you have a job here because he has been an eminent lawyer and activist. You don't see that self-defense is not a crime. It cannot be a crime. In a situation whereby the Constitution, the primary responsibility of government shall be the protection of life and property of people. And the federal government under Buhari has totally failed since 2015 to protect the people, to secure the people. The people cannot sit down and everybody will die. Somebody must rise up on behalf of the people. If there's no farmers other side, killer other the rest of us. They are everywhere on our highways, on our people. They take their cows. That is happening in Benin 2 years ago. If they are everywhere, they are criminals, and this government, the federal government, defends them. They defend them. If they are killing people, don't hear the government. But at any point that the people now react to defend themselves, see them unleashing soldiers. Look at what happened in Yewanon, where soldiers from 35 artillery brigade, Alaman Abefuta, led Haga to villages Asa, Befu, Agbon, and then they went there, the soldiers went there and were making it comfortable for the soldiers to allow these others to enter their farm and destroy their farm. And they were beating the villagers. Soldiers that cannot wait for Boko Haram, soldiers that are running away from the soldiers. They are now attacking villagers on behalf of the others. That is why the government under Buhari is the number one enabler of the killer others in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Adebayo. Mr. Adebayo, unfortunately, we're having issues with your audio, but we'll come back to you in just a moment.
Yeah, we're going to have to try and reconnect with him.
Yes. Mr. Adebayo just mentioned that, alleged that the president is the #1 spokesman for killer headers in the country. That's what he's saying. And that in light of the current circumstances, there needed to be someone to rise up for the people, which is what Sunday Adeyemo has said. But what's the likelihood of this Oyo scenario empowering other states to do the same and attack Fulanis and herdsmen in their own states?
I would say that no justification for such killings. No matter what, there shouldn't be any justification for such killings, especially given the fact that those that you are attacking now might probably even be the innocent ones. They might be the innocent ones. The criminally minded ones are in the bush, They come to the road or come to the villages, raid these villages, and then fall back to the bush. And then now you're probably attacking the innocent ones. And so for me, this is a pointer to the fact that government should do something immediately. Because when you refuse to protect the people, you also are indirectly exposing, the innocent one. And then when the innocent one also are unable to protect or they do not get a commensurate protection from government, they might also be forced to take up arms against some other persons. So at the end of the day, you're gradually setting the country that you are supposed to protect on fire with your lackadaisical attitude. And why people would say, point blank, that the president is a spokesperson? Because his actions...
I think he used the word enabler.
Enabler, yes. Enabler. Yes, because when the same government that is always very slow to respond or take action in times of crisis, somebody issued ultimatum to killer headers, and not every Fulani in the state, the killer headers to leave the bush, and then immediately, the very next day, or even that same day, Garba Shehu, issuing a statement on behalf of the presidency, rose up, and the message you're sending by such statement is that you're supportive of this killing. And yet you say the governor is the chief security officer of the state. And this is not the first time all of these issues of dialogue. At some point, if you remember, in Kaduna State, the governor even was allegedly said to have paid some of these people so that they can stop the killing. There was a time, I don't know if that video is also true, when Dambazo was Minister for Interiors, that there were allegations that federal government was making moves to settle headers so as to stop the killing. So what are you doing? You're compensating criminality. And what you're telling the rest of the people who have been killed without compensation is that it is good to take up arms against the state.
Mr. Oshoma, that ultimatum that Akeredolu gave expires today, right?
Yes.
So the question is, what will the government or the people in Ondo State do? And would this empower other people to do the same?
Yes, it will. It will. Mind you, Akeredolu is a governor of the APC stock. If he were a PDP governor, that would be a different thing. Even the PDP governors have not been disembodying. And so, he can't, you call him the chief security officer of the state, and yet he commands no flag. He can't fold his hands and allow strangers, slaughter the people that he's meant to protect without doing anything. And you see, we're treating these issues with kid gloves. We should find out what led to the establishment of Amotekun. And gradually, if care is not taken, in other states, they've established vigilante groups and empower them with guns and all of that. So gradually, before you know it, people will also begin to empower hunters like they've done in Borno State. And so if care is not taken, what you're gradually going to be encouraging is that people will take their destiny in their hands to say, you know what, we need to protect our territory. Because like T.Y. Danjuma said, the army is colluded. He repeated that word 3 times. And then also lastly, so that I can yield the floor, when the northern youth, Arewa youth, issued ultimatum to Igbos, we didn't hear Garba Shehu issue a statement. But the moment ultimatum was issued first by the governor and then Sunday Igbo, Garba Shehu immediately responded. The impression that the average man will get is that there are some persons who are above the law. That's what Obasanjo is referring to. You should be able to put your foot down and say, no, this is my tribe, this is not what we represent. And the criminal element in this tribe, we must fish them out and bring them to book so that the law-abiding ones will be able to carry on their business without harassment.
All right, Mark Adebayo, I'm bringing you in here. I'm guessing you're still connected with us. I want you to speak about the reaction of the Southwest governors. Some have criticized Rotimi Akeredolu. Some have also criticized Governor Seyi Makinde. But I want your thoughts on how the Southwest governors have reacted so far with regards to protecting lives of citizens in their regions. And also, there's meant to be a meeting today with the Southwest governors and Miyetti Allah. How do you think that would play out? And also, what would you assess their reactions so far as?
Let me start with it. It is not.
We're still having difficulties hearing you clearly. I hope that the producers can get it sorted, because it's a struggle getting to pick words out of what you're saying. So, Libros Oshoma, will come to you to quickly address that. Mr. Adebayo, apologies. I think we'll have to find ways to reconnect with you again.
I think the Southwest governors are playing politics with this issue, trying to, we operate a local government, big local government structure here, where the president is the monarchy president, who can do no wrong. So, and everybody will want to pander towards the dictate. He commands the army, commands the police, commands everybody. And so, the governors command nothing. And then once you belong to the same party, and knowing fully well the way you came into office, you want, even if your people are dying, provided it will guarantee you retaining that seat, you want to play politics with all of that. You know what? Even the formation of Amotekun, we saw the politics that they all played with it. But one thing I can assure them, if there is no peace in your state, even the government house will be too hot for you to occupy you. So that's why if you would, if dialogue is an option, they have been dialoguing. Nothing seems to be coming out of it. If dialogue is an option, go ahead consistently, because there's always the table even before the war. And after the war, you always come back to the table. But in dialoguing, also show strength that you cannot be taken for granted, and that if it is, you shouldn't go cap in hand begging people, criminals who are not state actors, to cease fire when you know that, with the state apparatus at your beck and call, you can also, retaliate. Because the moment you go cap in hand begging them, it's a self-defeatist approach. You should also show strength that you can deal with it, you can crush, these people if need be. And then this attitude of the federal government security apparatus, it is high time we begin also to think of restructuring, state security. The idea of Moteku collaborating with police, and they are not empowered with firearms, and yet the police is commanded from Abuja, and so the Moteku uniform is not bulletproof. A Moteku uniform, does not mean that once you say a killer should stop, a man carrying a gun, he will just kill you. So there's need for us to begin to discuss those issues also. Okay. So that you know that you can truly protect your territory. So we don't give opportunities to criminally minded people, even like Sunday Bobo, who was alleged to be a land grabber, now all of a sudden becoming a hero amongst his people.
All right.
Because of this lacuna in our structure.
I'm aware we have Mr. Adebayo back online. Mr. Adebayo, do we have you?
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic.
Better.
Okay, now the Oyo State has a new commissioner of police, and this issue has gone beyond Oyo, Ondo, or any other southwest states. It's now a matter of national security because of the potential of it to spill into other states and cause a crisis. So what do you think this new CP should do, and the federal government, in fact?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that this meeting will produce positive. Those guys, the governors, they will write to them and still return to their criminality. You can quote me on this. Until we start to what I think they will do their. So the beyond the CP of the West, it is something. It is something the governors of Southwest, who are the major stakeholders, should beyond the CP. The CP will not. So if people are aware of the fact that they need to begin to protect their communities, it is a national issue because killer adult activities, are all over the country, from north to the west, to the east to the south. So it's everywhere. The problem we are having is not as if the problem is so insurmountable, or when we have a government that actively supports the activity of terrorist actmen, you cannot have solution on time. I challenge you to go to any police station this morning today and report that others are repeatedly offended. The police will not follow you anywhere. But if they hear that they have arrested one killer, the government will unleash the apparatus. Now, what happened in Ghana? Dr. Kolapo, a PhD holder who came from America to establish a farm in Igogon, a large expanse of farm. The killer went to his farm and destroyed his farm. He went to some people at this palace to report. There, he was allegedly tied and macheted to death. That was why the people that these guys went to attack are not so innocent that, as my friend is saying in the studio, they are not as. But it was in the palace of Somki Fulani that Dr. Kolapa was macheted to death. It was in his palace, allegedly. So the solution to this issue is for the government, federal government, to stop promoting, to stop enabling these killer orders. The federal government under Buhari has been enabling these killer orders. The 100 billion that was offered to them, which they initially rejected, and they were demanding for 160 billion. That meeting was held in Ikobi. All the service people are there, including the Inspector General of Police and Dan Basel as Interior Minister. You are begging criminals. They are offering them money. Yeah.
All right. So quickly, also because of time, I would like both of you to speak on the support that Afenifere and the Southwest governors. People are expecting them to, of course, be on the same side with Sunday Igbo at a time like this. I spoke with Yinka Odumakin yesterday, and of course, he also had his own statement with regards Sunday Igbo's actions. So I want your thoughts on the Southwest governors and Afenifere, and what the Southwest generally should be having their heads mentally at a time like this.
Well, it should be 1,000,000% support for people. If you speak to regular Yoruba of the road to anywhere in the Southwest, you will see that the guy has overwhelming support and solidarity from the community of the Yoruba nation. And I want the governors to be careful the way they handle this matter. And the arrest or detention or imprisonment of Sunday Igbo will worsen the matter. And we will have something worse than Boko Haram in our hands. Look at IPOB. That was not a terrorist organization that this government declared a terrorist organization. They were not armed. They were just protesting. Now they are armed by this Eastern Security Network. If you propose the Yoruba nation to that level, everything, things will go rather very bad.
Okay.
And the government to apply wisdom. Unfortunately, the federal government does not have a lot of wisdom. It's handling matters. They just believe the federalization agenda is real. It's real. We thought it was a joke, but it's real.
All right, hold on.
The government begin to behave in a way to deny that reality.
All right, hold on, Mr. Adebayo. Liberal Social I want you to speak on that also. It's a very tricky moment.
There's nothing tricky about it.
But you can already sense that people are being careful with where they support and what they say and what stance they take. So
because of the structure, because of the style of government that we operate, where the president is all and all, is a democratic president, is a monarch, is a baba, and so he can do no wrong. And because of that, even his party, some party members are scared to come out openly to criticize, his silence in the face of danger. There's nothing tricky about it. The only thing is that people should be bold to speak up. People should, like Dele Momodu said, who will tell the president that he's sleeping? We should be bold to tell him that he's sleeping, that these were not the promises made. The people we shouldn't be waiting to die by installment. Do you know I traveled from Lagos to Benin and to my village Anegbete during the Yuletide period, and a lot of people, said if they had known that I was traveling, that they probably would have begged me. And I had the confidence to travel because of the number of checks, police checks and army checks on the road. And so these were the same people who were saying should leave the road because, they paid, the time of traveling. But now we're happy seeing them on the road. I had the privilege of speaking with one of the army officers, and he said, look, it doesn't take anything to root these people out of the forest. But these forests are not accessible. These are places where you usually had forest guards, but forest guard also had been decimated. So the Nigerian government intentionally refused to empower the police, even the army, to access some of these places. They can't access it via vehicles. You will need to either use drone or helicopters. So they are not coming from the moon. And then we excuse it away to say, oh, because of the fact that the Chad Basin is drying up. So if the Chad Basin is drying up, does that warrant the reason for invading people's farm and killing them? People mooted ideas of having ranches. The government said, no, we want to create a grazing colony. Where would you want to create grazing colony when the population is increasing, there's hunger in the land, and you are also, this is the same government that is saying, let's encourage farming. Let's encourage farming. And the few people that are farming, then you have some miscreants and, killer headers who are invading their farms and killing them. And what do you do in return? You fold your hands and say, no, live peacefully with them. And then we say it's tricky. It is not tricky. The only answer, the solution to this is for the governors to stand toe-to-toe with the president and say, look, Mr. President, you have failed us. And also give the president ultimatum, not just those in the
All
bush.
right.
That if nothing is done between this time and this time, we will not be able to stop our people from also taking up arms to defend them.
All right,
and the
Mr.
country
Oshoma.
will go up in flames.
Yes, we have noted your points, Julie. Right, thank you so much, Mr. Adebayo, for being here on The Breakfast. Sadly, we've run out of time. Thank you.
Thanks for your thoughts.
And Mr. Oshoma, thank you. We can only hope that, throwing it back to your early days, that Fulani herdsmen and the rest of Nigeria can live, peacefully and coexist.
So I've been living peacefully until Buhari came.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on The Breakfast.
Thank you very much, Dr.
So we'll continue an analysis of the president's and his administration. That's about what Jiga has said. He said the President Buhari's administration is very disappointing. We'll be discussing that with two analysts in just a minute. Do stay with us on The Breakfast.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years. 10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
Contrary to popular belief, Corona is not a hoax. The virus is real. Be responsible. Wear a mask. Wash your hands with soap and water and avoid crowded places. Maintain physical distancing. Be responsible. Together, we can overcome the pandemic.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the result of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus, politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Welcome back to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and our conversation now continues with the stance of a former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from 2010 to 2015. Atahiru Jaga has described the Buhari administration as disappointing. He said governance has been very poor at the federal level and in many of the states, and that it was time for a change. We'll now be taking a critical look at the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari with two public affairs analysts, Mr. Dayo Lumuwagu and Mr. Salako. But we have Mr. Lumuwagu standing by on The Breakfast. Good morning and thanks for joining us. All right. Beginning, what do you think about Jaga's statement about this administration being disappointing and failing it to deliver on its promises to Nigerians? Do you agree with Jaga?
I think Professor Jaga is the caliber person he is somebody in a position to be who you expect will be careful with his word, who will not just make utterances without properly considering them. So if it's coming from him, this is no beer parlor talks. I think in fairness, maybe Jaga spoke the mind of so many Nigerians at this time. Personally, I think what Jaga's opinion is very correct of this administration. He says it's very disappointing, in fact, for me. If there's other adjective that could be used, maybe we should be thinking about that. Maybe it's even more than very disappointing. So, to say the least, I think Jaga has possibly spoken the mind of so many Nigerians. And if you look at the different parameters, you definitely know that this is not the Nigeria we expected under the Buhari administration.
So should we now go deep into the details and see what exactly about the presidency and the administration is disappointing? Mr. Lumuwagu, when you look at kidnapping in the country, when you look at banditry, when you look at killings, when you look at the Boko Haram insurgency, you consider the piracy in the Niger Delta, how would you assess the performance of the Buhari administration?
You see, again, I think the good point, the good point is to even assess Buhari based on what he says he's going to do for us as Nigerians. In 2014, he came in on the mantras of change. And basically, he says he's going to turn around the economy, he's going to turn around security for this country, he's going to, the anti-corruption fight is going to take it, to the highest height, to the highest heaven. And if you look at those three, and maybe in 2019 when he came, still about security, still about the economy, still about, if you ask me, I think Buhari has scored not below the average. For me, I think it's got negative marks, if possible. Now, because I go to security that you mentioned first, never in this country have we been terrorized like that. You see, if as a Nigerian you step out in the morning, you are not sure if you are coming back, because anything could happen to you along the line, whether it's kidnapping, whether it's banditing, whether it's Boko Haram, whether it's a spray bullet from from Nigerian policemen or army or something. You are not too sure whether you are coming back to your home again. And that is the state we are in. Now you're talking about in 2014, what do we have? We have Boko Haram. There's nothing like banditry. Now, today we have banditry, we have kidnapping like never before. Whether in the north, whether in the south, in the south, this thing is prevalent. And the sad thing is, you see, it is peculiar to this country. Peculiar in the sense that now, in other countries, what they do, if you see this is happening, you label groups as terrorist group, and you go after them as terrorists. But in Nigeria, what do we have? It's only Nigerian government that is, Nigerian government is just to recommend that there are terrorists in Nigeria. Whether it's Boko Haram, whether the bandits, they tell you they are insurgents. They give you all kinds of names that, you see, if you come to international parlance, they are not even acceptable. So if you look at security, if you look at whether it's the rate at which people are kidnapping people, banditry, the other day we were, just yesterday or day before yesterday, we see what is happening in your state, your state and all that. And you see, there's times at which the way this government responds. Now you hear people killing people in their own land, maiming people, raping women and all that, and you do nothing. And even in the north, some matter what we do, they harass the Igbo that they want to send Igbo back into to wherever they come from. And nobody issues different, nobody mentioned it, nobody talk about it, it just die like that. But the moment is happening to your neighbors in the southwest, this government is quick to quickly come out and say, so this Buhari administration is very disappointing, not very disappointing, because like never before they have polarized Nigeria, they have divided Nigerians, and we are up against ourselves.
Right, Mr. Lumuwagu, I'm going to step in here. You've spoken on security and your assessment of the government's work with regard to security. You've also spoken on the campaign promises, which of course include security, the fight against corruption and others. But would you say that there might be other angles that the government has at least made some effort and has been successful. In infrastructural development, for example, there have been road projects that have been going on for a while. The second Niger Bridge has also, been started basically, and is currently ongoing. The railway project that the government also has started, and put into works. Some of them have already kicked off. Would you say that the government may not be getting it right with regard to security and the fight against corruption, but has done well enough in other aspects, and maybe they shouldn't be given a below, or rather a low pass mark, a low rating basically, by some of these persons?
I understand this, right? You see, the truth is, yeah, maybe a little droplet here and there of what they're doing that seems to make sense. But again, as I analyze it, you're talking about infrastructure, for example. Now, so who is going to use the road if the bandits are on the road to kidnap me, to kill me? What is the essence of the road you're building? Now you talk about rate network. Who is going to use it? Even your rate network these days. Even when you are traveling in the train this day, you are not sure if bandits will not block you on the rail. Block the rail and kidnap people. So my point is, yes, maybe a little drop here and there, and that you want to preach them. But by every single step made forward, it looks like we're making 1,000 steps backward again. And for me, that is not progress. And so there's no way you want to give a pass mark to this government. And you talk about even for the infrastructure they are doing. Now you look at, is this totally in the interest of Nigeria? Now, the infrastructure at what cost? What are we doing and at what cost? In this period where we have very lean resources, in this period where the government is not generating so much money, that we are going from hand to mouth, we are borrowing all over the place, from China, from everywhere, from any country available to give us money. We are even borrowing from dormant accounts, from everything you can see aside, you are borrowing. Now, you want to look at those things you say you are able to do that was supposed to give you pass mark for the project, at what cost? And things like, for example, the rail that is going from Nigeria to Niger, for whose benefit? Are Nigerians also Nigerians? So these are some of the points, these are some of the things you need to talk about. Yes, there will be a little here and there that they are doing that seems to be making progress. But again, when you see them and you look at the cost implication of what the government that prided itself as anti-corruption, that they will do the anti-corruption fight, and you're looking at this, and this is the same crusader of this anti-corruption that we're talking about. Is this government again the same government that we tell you they are feeding students, they are feeding pupils who are inside their, who are told during coronavirus, the situation of Nigeria? And you're looking at it, does this make sense to even the common man of the street?
Okay.
Even the layman that wants to know.
All right.
Mr. So for every progress, it seems that we take 1,000 miles back.
Can we now look at the aspect of, the economy? The president, came in and said that he was going to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. He's also spoken about education. And we saw the Minister of Education, saying just last week that they've they've basically reduced the number of out-of-school children from 10 million to about 6 million. So wouldn't you agree that maybe the government is doing what it can in the area of, education and even the economy, or do you differ?
Again, I beg to differ on the economy. And my position is, it has not been this worse. Yes, we know you had issues in 2014 when you came in. We know they accumulated whatever when you came in 2014. But honestly, yes, I think Nigeria could be better than this. I think there are so many brilliant